All right, we are at Marconi Park to look at a few updates, upgrades. If you know where we are right now, that's 157th Street. Right, this is 157th and this is 108. The opposite street is 100 and that's 108. That's so that's 109th. That's 156. Right, so 157, 156. There's a public school. Marconi Park, there's a giant entrance there for the handball courts. Again, we're just talking design theory on things that I would like to see throughout the city and worldwide if possible. But you're playing handball, the ground is super chunky in terms of the size of the sediments, right? The rocks, they're huge, and it makes for inconsistencies when you're playing a game like handball. Handball is a very precise game. You need smooth flooring everywhere throughout, even the cracks, this crack, that crack, the line, so that's this crack, that crack, and the line down the middle often make the game I guess less than pleasurable. You also have this giant opening here, so what happens often is you're playing handball, the ball flies out, you got to run and chase it into the street. This street was recently paved since the last time I was here. I mean, if you know where we are, you can see this is all landscape, but that is my stomping ground right there. At least one portion of my life. I have not been played handball on these courts in a very long time, but what I'm noticing is a renovated, painted basketball courts. If you were outside during COVID pandemic, whether you were trapping, hustling, working, first responder, delivering food like I was, then you know most of the basketball rims across the city were non-existent, right? Let me do that again. Most of the basketball courts around the city were non-existent because they removed the basketball rims. I see this painted basketball court, right? This is a full court. Then you have a green and a blue court. I love that there's some differentiation in colors, because colors to me is another way of communicating. Signage. I can say to you, hey, meet me at the blue basketball court. Meet me at the green basketball court. We're gonna play on the mural court or the colorful court. All things that I think are important for design aesthetics, especially in parks, considering that these are the most vital center of our community and lifeline, right? So I'm pointing this out as design theory because I wanna see things like this done at more NYC parks, especially if there's a public school adjacent, and I wanna have the students essentially help paint, where we we delineate the lines and we give them directions on colors and maybe numbers. So let's say this is number 1, and they know all they have to do is take the number 1 color, which might be light blue, and color everything in with that color. I just think it makes for a better aesthetic. I don't know if it's confusing when you're playing. It might actually be confusing when you're dribbling the ball, running up and down the court with people who what's the word I'm looking for? With people who are also wearing colored jerseys and uniforms. All right, so what issues have I noticed here playing over the years? Not too many, but again, obviously most of the open spaces, you know, if you're playing by yourself and you shoot a ball, you have to then go run for it. What would I do differently here? I might extend this post, right? I might extend this fence post from that point to the edge. I might do the same there, but then you create a barrier of a park, but I still think it creates a better aesthetic, especially if each court is in full use. If each court is in full use, to me, it's pointless for me to have to keep running into the other player's court. So that's some design theory issues I have. This to me is one of, I use this workout center heavily during COVID, heavily. I mean, I was up 4 or 5 in the morning sometimes because I couldn't rest and I was just fucking fed up of life and shit. I'd come out and work out. But as I'm looking at it now, some of the things I look at is like how we can prevent debris from collecting. I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing. Maybe there's a different way to design this, right? But what I'm noticing is that there's tons of vegetation growing up through the workout areas, and I would love to see how we can fix it. And this is a great example of what I'd like to see inside of skate parks. Imagine a section in the skate park like this section, but smaller. And not just smaller, maybe it was something as simple as this, like go up and down the bank one time, and maybe it was a bank in a corner and it was sectioned off. So maybe it wasn't just for children, but it was for beginners. So you could be a 5-year-old beginner, you could be a 55-year-old beginner, but I want to see things of this nature incorporated into the skate parks, and not just the skate parks, but all aspects of parks, right? So this is just a workout section, but what if there was a section in the basketball area and the handball area that had a little plaque? Maybe it was a little plaque with some games that you can play for the children and for the adults. All right, so that's one issue. Let's check this water fountain. I love that it was recently landscaped. This water fountain seems to be working. Let's get the test. It's pretty warm, but I am thirsty. The field, obviously there's some upkeep. The field might be getting an upgrade soon, but I will skip the field for now. This field, by the way, gets a lot of usage. Let's take a segue here. Talk about heat mitigation. You've got a lot of coverage here, right? Areas with the gate looks like it gets a lot of usage. Restrooms are currently closed, I think because of the time of day. I don't remember all of this. They have a call ahead porta potty. Let's see if this is working. This is working. It's funny, they adapted it so that the top spring function works. Yeah, 2 temporary porta potties. I'm not even gonna touch those. Freshly landscaped. That's a good thing. This is beautiful in its own way and own right. This vegetation. This is a nice playground. I love that there's just a communal space where people can sit and gather. People who don't give a fuck about what's going on, they just want to hang out in the park. I think that's so necessary. This is an example of an obstacle I would put in a sort of DI. This is basically what I would add to a skate park, right? Because I feel like there are kids who are learning to skate, learning to grind, and maybe there's a hard surface on one end, or maybe there's a hard surface approaching the obstacle, but maybe it's all padded around the obstacle. So if you fall on the obstacle, you're gonna get hurt on the obstacle, but maybe we can prevent even further damage, right? I really love how they have these like wide open like garden spaces. This is beautiful. Gotta have the flagpole, right? Boop. Nice giant airplane-like water fountain or kite structures, right? They're kites. Water fountain kites. Really simple feature, but interesting plumbing nonetheless. It would be nice to have less of the leaves, but you can't really avoid that. Lovely section here with the jungle gym, the ropes for climbing. Man, it's just funny how quickly these things wear out. So I'm just like, how could you design a playground for children that won't wear out as quickly? And I don't think there is a solution to that. Look at this climbing section. Wow, let's take a look at these 2 smaller playgrounds. So this is I think this is more of your 5 to 12, and that's your, this is your younger children. All right, so this is the older children behind me. These are really tiny 2-seater benches. So these are love seats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've never seen these before. Ah, picnic tables. This is interesting. This is a little tiny section. This is pretty cool. As you can see, it's much less usage. You've got larger benches here. Just got a tree down. Hold that key. Oh, today's Tuesday. Okay. Then you've got this smaller children's section here. Quick spin around. All right, so you can see what's happening here. This looks pretty dope. The landscaping is dope. I guess there's no weeds, so that's a good thing. All right. Little children's bench. I would love to see more of these. I don't know how I missed this. But why not? We too often think of ourselves, we don't design things for the children. We design the play spaces, but what about seating? And that's one of my key concepts with all of these spaces, is to have proper seating as well. That section, I think I'll skip for now. I think I'm gonna call it. I'm wondering what this actually was. Oh, so this is a water fountain. I don't understand why you would have a water fountain on top of the rubber, but that's what it is. Water. This one looks really loose. Let me see if this is okay. Yeah, this came right up. If all of these are loose, then whatever. Another issue I've noticed in parks is because they're outdoors and because park staff is not there 24/7, and humans, right, are outside 24/7. Humans will take advantage, and we should. We need water, we're gonna turn those taps on, right? What's my theory on that?
Love you too, baby.
My theory is that parks need to maybe have. All right, so I think of parks in a sense of in the same way I think of actual structures, right? In an emergency, there's a park manager or there's a park superintendent or an engineer, if you will, right? That individual in an emergency gets called if there's a flood, fire, you name it. They need to break down some doors. So it's my opinion that that should be implemented into all parks across the city. And we are done with Marconi.